Good evening, everyone. DQ Labs, Design Quotient Labs, deeply believes that design has the power to make the lives of millions of people simple, beautiful, efficient, and memorable. With this belief, the founder of DQ Labs, Sean Dessa and Umesh Kumar, alumni of IIT Delhi, have a collective design industry experience of about 40 plus years and have embarked on a journey to create design superheroes. In the past 13 years, we have mentored more than 12,000 students in creative careers. They are trying to achieve it by giving awareness, exposure, counseling, training, mentoring to design aspirants not only to get into top colleges, but also beyond their college life and in starting their professional careers. Many aspiring design students and their parents are unaware of the creative professions and hence have many questions. To bridge this gap, each week, DQ Lab invites creative professionals in the field of architecture, fashion, and design. The invited creative professional will explain about one of their projects, the challenges that they've gone through while executing their design projects, the design process that they adopted, and many more interesting aspects of their profession. They will also talk about their story of becoming who they are now. Today we have Niren Jain with us. Very honored to have you here. Niren Jain is a practicing architect in Mangalore. He's graduated from Manipal Institute of Technology and has a master's degree in environmental conservation, majoring in land use policy and planning from the University of Wisconsin-Madison, USA. He's the co-convenor for Indian National Trust of Art and Culture Heritage, INTACH, Mangalore chapter. He has served as an external member for the Board of Studies of the Faculty of Architecture, Manipal Academy of Higher Education, MAHE, and was a visiting faculty for the Masters in Urban Design and Development. His other interests include forest, wildlife conservation activities in the Western Ghats landscape. He's deeply involved in influencing environmental policy and planning process of the government and regularly writes popular articles on environmental conservation issues on online, international web news portals and local media. He's currently a consultant for Mangalore Smart City Limited to transform Mangalore City to a cycling-friendly city. It's in fact a very, very nice idea, sir. Thank you very much for joining us today. Over to architect Niren Jain.
Thank you, Leon. Hi, everyone. So shall I directly get into the projects or?
First, actually, I'd like you to tell our viewers about your topic today because it's one we were very, intrigued by the whole topic. So if you can just start with that and then we can.
Sure. So I wanted to talk on regional modernism because first of all, what is regional modernism? Going back to when we were studying architecture, I think the courses were mainly focusing on theory of architecture, talking about contemporary architecture or modernist movement, Bauhaus movement, and a whole lot of things. Some have grown in a small place like Puttur, which is 1 hour from Mangalore. I couldn't relate to most of such modern architecture at that time. So I was always thinking, I don't know what's so intriguing about these kind of aesthetics. So as I was studying, and after a couple of years, I interestingly found a book on Jeffrey Bawa, who's a Sri Lankan architect. And that's when it really hit me, telling this is what architecture for our climate should be like. So that doesn't mean that we just do vernacular architecture and we just do basically what has evolved over the years. We also need to cater to the modern requirements, the necessities of the clients, and yet be contextual to the particular climate. And once we start designing very consciously uh, for the particular place and the climate, automatically you kind of develop a style that is far more regional than a holistic, like building in New York. Otherwise, building in New York will look same as a building in Mangalore. And that's what is happening today because of globalization. There is no real context involved. Even the materials that is used, that's universally available. And we're just seeing same type of typology of architecture more or less everywhere. So as and when we are conscious that we try and use materials that is suitable to our climate and that is easily available in our place, I think it automatically evolves into a regional modernism. Uh, so being interested in vernacular architecture and traditional architecture, that doesn't mean we just repeat the same things that has been done for several hundreds of years, but we need to understand the elements, the materials that was developed for these areas, and then see how we can develop it further, given the newer technology and the newer requirements of the clients. So that is how I view regional modernism as. And more specifically to our climate, I think it's also referred as tropical modernism.
Yes, I hope it's clear now to everybody, and we'll look forward to what you will present to us.
Yeah, I'll just show you one of, can I share my screen?
Yeah, you can go ahead. Yeah.
So I'm just pulling up from my blog, which is njarchitect.wordpress.com. So there's some images which I've posted there. I'll just run through one or two of my projects. So this is a farmhouse that was to come up. It's inside a rubber estate, and there's a stream right there. So the challenge was, and there's a beautiful rock over here. So the challenge was how to kind of make it very sensitive to the surrounding, um, and yet make all the requirements available to the clients. So we had so what we did was we used a whole lot of rubble stones from the rubber estate that was available. I'll just show you another photograph. So all these rubble stone was available locally at the rubber estate. So we just picked them and stacked them. And these mud blocks were basically molded at site, and we made a profile to make a vault. And the vault technology was is one of the oldest, where it's basically a compressive element, structural element, and then we put a template and put this vault. Now, the vault itself for our climate, if you leave it exposed, it might not really work well. So we still covered it with the Mangalore tile roofing, that which gave a air gap, and it was thermally very effective for our hot and humid climate. So that's a space, and even the material, flooring material that we used was again brick laid in herringbone pattern, and you have large windows. Again, these windows, if you look at American houses or Western houses, they don't really need a security grill, but we had to provide grill. Of course, we had to design it slightly differently. It is like a gate, so the whole gate opens out. So that's why the gate is open here, and you can easily step out and still have that effect. But when they leave the house for a week or so, they'll still have the security grill locked in place. So you can see the Mangalore tile roofing there. So the same Mangalore tile roofing also comes over the vault. So it's very subtle, and it is all using the same materials, that is materials available at the site, and that's a rubble stone wall. Of course, you need to work far more closely with the laborers and the masons, and you need to guide them what exact effect that you need, and what type of what are the specifications for this. Like, we have to ensure that the cement is not visible in the front, yet the cement is inside. Of course, like I said, traditionally you did have dry joint walls, but they were far thicker. Now, since we have cement, and as long as we use it judiciously, we can reduce the thickness of the wall. So the cement is there, but it's provided inside, but the outside is all just a dry joint, and you don't see the cement, and still retains a good quality of visual element. That's a spiral staircase going down to the stream, and that's a car porch, and you enter into a courtyard there, and then you see the living hall, which is the first photo that I showed you. So we also used Mangalore tile roofing with the ceiling tile, because we didn't really need a vault here. The vault was more for, again, for security and thermal cooling for the inside of the house. So that's a rock. So we didn't have any foundation because it was a huge rock protruding into the stream. So we directly built this stone pillar. Yet, if you see, we did have a, so we wanted this large cantilever out. I was wondering how to support it. And because this is just a masonry wall and it's not a RCC pillar, I wasn't sure how to really provide this bracket. And then we thought of giving uh, that small RCC block, which is wedged into it, and then you build this, and it gets a counterweight, so it doesn't let this fall down. So because it's got a counterweight above. So these are the minor details that it gives a lot of joy in working out such details, and finally what you had in mind is realized. So this is a basement. Again, it was a very supposed to, the client's, one of the requirement was that it should cost very little. This is a basement where you wanted to interact with the estate laborers. So we use a filler slab, which you will find in quite a few houses, even in Bangalore. It basically removes the amount of concrete from the lower part of the slab, where you just need the steel members. It's mainly the tension at a lower place. To explain quickly, so if this is a slab, the slab tends to bend like that as a deflection. So you need steel only at the lower place, and on top is what is the compression. So we basically remove that much of concrete, which is a compression member, from the lower part of the slab. So it gives an interesting visual effect also for the slab. And that's the same filler slab that you're seeing, and that's a rock. So how we work on these levels also is quite interesting. So this is so you go up there and go to the porch that I showed you earlier. And that's a stream view from the house. So this is how we had to build the vault. There is a steel template. It's not a complete formwork or a centering like you see for the slab. You just need these two steel members, and you basically slide them. You basically slide them this way. So as you finish this construction, you move. There are basically, you can see two steel templates. So once this is done, you move that one to the front, and basically you just slide that template along this along this thread, which is a guiding line. And you have a L-shaped beam on the side, and that's how it is done. I also consulted Dr. Yoganand from RINMAI. They're doing amazing work on alternative technologies. So they have helped me in realizing some of the structural details for this project. That's other part. Again, we used, I just have to move this around, sorry. So for the staircase, we used a Kota stone, but what is available in the market is a polished stone. So we just flipped it around and used the rough side, which is perfect for non-slippery staircase. So simple details like that, even though how we adopt it. The clients wanted to name their house as a hornbill house because there's a lot of hornbills coming to their estates. That's an entrance courtyard, and that's a CNC carved hornbill on the door. That's the entrance car porch, which the earlier photo I showed you a night view. So the vault is there, and then you have a tiled roof above, so that in Bangalore you might not need a tiled roof protection. You just need a thin layer of waterproofing. But if we did that here in Mangalore, it will not work. So we had to give that additional protection of the Mangalore tiled roofing. That's interiors and some other details. And that's the setting of the farmhouse. So that's a stream. It gets flooded, and that's a rock protruding into the stream.
So you might say this is the falling waters of Mangalore.
So there's no water going through, so I'm not sure if it's a falling waters. Basically, we've tried to work around the site quite a bit. I had to keep my person continuously at site right from the beginning of the project till the project was handed over. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been possible to realize such kind of details in working on undulating terrain next to a stream. So these trees actually are coming from the ground floor, and this is so we have a basement, ground, and a first floor. So this is the tip of the tree that is coming almost 2 floors up. So we decided to leave these holes in the balcony or the terrace slabs, so that it kind of goes through, and still the clients can enjoy some amount of greenery which is already there in the site. That's a rock. So the clients, they were telling they usually used to, even before the house was built, they jump from here down into the stream. And that's a filler slab. Again, we used some rough stone flooring and some cement fixed seating there for interaction with the laborers. Yeah, so that's about it for this project. So I'll go to the next project, which is a residence for 2 doctors. So they came to me with a requirement. They had a huge nursing home, which was 2 floors high, and they had the entire terrace, which was about more than 6,000 to 7,000 square feet. And they wanted to build a house on the terrace, but they wanted a comparatively smaller floor area. So the challenge was, how do we design a house which is basically has to sit on a grid of a nursing home, which is basically rooms and toilets, and yet to make it interesting as a residence for the 2 doctors. So what we did here was, so we looked at what could be a lightweight roofing. So this is this is a A-shaped roof, which is 50 sandwich, cement sandwich panel, which is a very lightweight roofing structure. And so once we decided on a lightweight roofing, then I didn't have to keep the columns aligned to the columns below. So I just had to make this, I could put these pillars anywhere as long as it gets some wall or some kind of a beam. It didn't have to be over a lower pillar. Because I used a lightweight roof. Same thing, I couldn't have achieved that if I would have used a reinforced cement concrete slabs. So we consciously used a lightweight material so that we can change the grid for this floor. So then it was about working out the roofing, how the whole 6,500 square feet, the rainwater, how it should drain out of the place. So this is a small cutout. In fact, quite a few roof is sloping towards this. And then we have a gutter here, which comes down in the rain chain here into this pool, and that is also acting like a fountain there. And then occasionally it is also drained out, and there is a sand filter under this Buddha statue. It was essentially a steel box section frame, and this is a RCC pillar, but it's a much narrower 4-inch thick pillar, and then we had a beam there. So Dr. Anand Bhatt was a structural engineer who did a fantastic job in working out a very slender columns and beams that is suitable for this. So again, some element of earthiness, and if you look at, so there is a step out terrace in the second floor, which has a terrace garden there. It has a central courtyard, and again, it has a courtyard in the front, which I'll show you to you as we go. So that's the effect. So all this is in the second floor. This is how you enter to the house through an entrance courtyard. So these are all very typically South Canara traditional architectural layout. Yet we are doing this in a second floor. So everybody's surprised that you've reached the second floor and suddenly everything is, you have garden there, you have open courtyards, and it gives a lot of good light and ventilation, and everything happening in second floor of a building. So that's what I kind of mean by regional modernism. We're trying to achieve a layout that works well for a hot and humid climate, which is basically a series of small courtyards and large openings. Yet we could achieve this modern, because of modern technology, the waterproofing, the structural elements, we could achieve that in a second floor. That's the study space, and that's so there's a roof sloping, sorry. So this roof is sloping this way, and the other roof is sloping this way. And these two are the large rainwater gutters, and that drains out through the rain chain, copper rain chains, which so yet it has a fully functional modern kitchen. Of course, when we try something different, we do get such elements. We do get a large beam, but it's kind of that was a necessity to do this kind of a lightweight roof. I'm not sure if you can see these thin grooves of the roofing panels. So about two or three people can just lift this panel and keep that in place.
Oh.
In fact, even the company had not tried this on a roof. So the vice president of this V panels came to us and said, you really tried a lot of things with their own material, which they didn't know it was capable of. So they were mainly using that for the walls, partition walls. So we tried that for using it on the roof. And then we put shingles over that. So that's master bedroom space. A lot of window seating on the bay windows, and some again exposed brickwork, but painted, because if we would have left this as a brick like we've left it in other rooms, the tone and the sensibilities that the client wanted inside the bedroom we couldn't achieve, so we decided to keep that very subtle as a cream or off-white exposed brick wall. That's the entrance courtyard.
You mentioned shingles.
Yeah, so we put shingles over this because, of course, the joints needs to be covered. So we put roofing shingles above the V panels. So that's about this project. So I don't know if you have anything specific to check with me before I proceed further.
No, you can carry on.
Okay. So this is another project. In fact, my own house. So so this is it's a very steep slope in sorry. So this is a very steep slope like that, and a laterite mound. So me and my wife Raksha, we were discussing what really we wanted our house to be. So the more and more I thought about it, I always basically thought what are the best spaces that I liked in my lifetime, and those were the spaces in my grandmom's house, which was a huge, nice portico overlooking the Western Ghats. So I said, why not have the whole house like a portico? Why should it look like a house? Let's just open out everything. That's why you'll see a huge opening there. So we decided this was exactly north facing. That's why we could open up so much. That is north. So there's no sunlight coming from that side. So we opened out the whole house facing the valley. And this whole house is sitting in a basement. That is, the road level is somewhere there or even above that. So we have to come down through the steps, and that's my entrance door there. We come in there, and you get again a small courtyard. I'll just run through some of the. So we come through. So we come into this courtyard. And so for security reasons, we had to put some metal grills, yet we didn't want to, we wanted to retain this tree which was already there in the site. So it was a kind of a big decision whether we should put a room there or we should retain the tree around the house. So me and my wife discussed. I said, yes, we want that tree. And even though the roots are actually going into some of the rooms, we said, as it grows, the tiles might come off because the roots also enlarge. So we decided that's fine. It might come off. We might have to relay them later, but that's a conscious decision we took, that we wanted to have the tree in place. In fact, it kind of become a part of a family, and in fact, the premises is named as Vraksha now. So some of the materials that we thought of. So for outdoor, as you can see, a lot of granite is used. but it becomes slippery if it becomes a very large panel. So we decided to break them into smaller strips so that your foot, so your foot should go both on this drain, basically the gravel, as well as this. So if your foot is, so we kept it small enough so that the footwear is always on both these two surfaces. If the panel is too big, then you'll tend to slip. And this is the water, since the rainwater falls on this, we had to design this kind of a walkway. So again, this is what it is. I mean, it's very contextual. In Bangalore, you might not need such kind of a detail, but for a place like Mangalore, where it rains so heavily, we need to detail out each and every such things. And this is, of course, a modern element, which is a wood polymer composite deck around the tree, because as the tree grows, we wanted to ensure that the tree also gets rainwater. We couldn't pave the whole thing because the roots also needs to breathe and the water needs to penetrate into the ground around the tree. So the water still goes through these gravels and through these deck. So that's a small wash basin detail. So we picked up regular wash basin, under counter wash basin, and we cladded it with these stone slabs, which is wrapped all around. And such skylights, a small triangular, it's basically a very oblique site. It kind of almost a triangular corner of a site. So we couldn't really use that for anything. So we thought we'll let the light in as a skylight and put some plants for the bathroom. And even the feel and the material for the bathroom, again, the best bathroom I've used again was in my grandmother's house, which is nothing but rough granite cladded, rough granite flooring. And in fact, they also had it large slabs even on the wall, but we decided we'll have a masonry granite wall. Yet to the modern context, when there's a lot of water, we had to give these small grooves on the floor so that the water spilt here can kind of drains out into this. Again, as a detail, everybody might think when we wash this and when there is a lot of soap, it could go into the courtyard. So it actually, if the soap gets into that courtyard, it all the plants could die. So actually, what you don't see is a small channel right there, which drains out separately. So none of these water gets into the courtyard. So it's for things to work, all these are the kind of details that we need to do. Need to intricately look at. You won't find these in any standard details. So it's very interesting to kind of come up with your own experiments. Of course, there are lot of learnings also as we go through that. We got this wash basin done at with the stone cutting masons in Karkala. So they basically scooped out the entire wash basin for us. And it was actually cheaper than buying a ceramic wash basin from the sanitary store.
But it must be heavy.
Yes, it was heavy. Of course, so those are the things. We have to give a steel frame to support that right from the base, which is all inside concealed. So there is a steel frame supporting this, and there's a plywood on that.
Yeah, but the fact that it wasn't manufactured itself must make you feel good.
Yeah, in fact, even I mean, my 1-year-old daughter, she just plays around in the bathroom so much, and we don't have to worry about her slipping at all, because that's the most worrying thing in a bathroom. That as soon as we get into a the modern tiled bathroom, you feel totally insecure that when are you going to slip? Whereas here, that feeling itself is so great that you can just walk as fast as you want, or just be comfortable there, because it's totally non-slippery, and it's totally maintenance free, because you just need to put water and just sweep them. You don't need to do anything. So these are the things that we're losing. We hardly see any bathrooms or clients wanting such bathrooms. Of course, now that people have been seeing my blog and understanding what kind of materials, there are a lot of people now coming to me specifically for this niche kind of architecture. So I have clients from Hyderabad. I didn't even know them. So he drove down all the way to Mangalore to meet me and said, I want you to come to Hyderabad and design it. I have a project going on in Bangalore now, even though Bangalore has so many architects. And these are clients whom I don't even know. They just saw my website. They said this is the type of architecture they want, even though there are hundreds of, maybe, I don't know, maybe thousands of architects in Bangalore. I was at quite a loss in terms of why they came to Mangalore to me to design a house in Bangalore. So that kind of feels there is a joy in so what you believe. I've been trying to follow that. So when you get inquiries like that, you feel very proud that that you've been going in the right direction.
You got what you were headed to.
Yeah, I mean, so initially it was not so easy because nobody had seen these type of, or how can you achieve contemporary architecture yet getting in the elements that is suitable to our place and that we can relate to more, both in terms of tactile functions and design elements. So we decided to leave the slab roof. Basically, it is an unplastered ceiling. So the wrinkles that you see here is nothing but we use a polythene sheet so that when they're using when they're casting the concrete, when they use a vibrator, between the joints of the formwork, a lot of cement drips, and we lose a lot of cement in the process. So that's a standard practice that everybody uses a polythene sheet. So we consciously decided that we want to leave this effect. In fact, there was somebody who came and asked, wow, what a ceiling, how much did you spend for it? They thought it was a completely modern kind of a textured finish, which I might have spent a lot of money for that. But in fact, I didn't even plaster the surface.
Yeah, actually, when people ask you, do you need a false ceiling, maybe you should show them this.
Yes. In fact, now I'm getting a lot of clients who don't like false ceilings and they see a sense in what I do. Lucky, I mean, that's what it is. So once you believe what it is and you follow and you kind of develop and you kind of do a lot of details that makes the style that you want work well, then after seeing those projects, automatically you'll get people who like such architecture, who like such style. So luckily for me, everybody coming to me have been wanting this type of architecture. So you kind of create a niche among a whole lot of other type of styles that is there in the that is prevailing. Even though so a lot of people, when they come visit my house, they say, aren't you people afraid that you have such an open space? In fact, what we've done is a rolling grill that you can see here. In fact, that's a rolling shutter that you have in a commercial shops. It's a see-through shutter. So that's actually a channel for the rolling grill. So it's an automated rolling grill. So the whole rolling grill folds up there and you don't even notice that there is any grill. Because if you would have put a grill here or a security grill on this window, then the whole house is not this house. So we had to design this very carefully and consciously so that we achieve a very large panoramic view. In fact, my brother-in-law came and we were seeing the kites fly at a very low level, low in the sense because we are so high. So he said this is like watching National Geographic on 70 mm because you have a full panoramic view of the valley.
Yeah, and I noticed that your grills have gone on the roof rather than the window, and that's how you've opened the whole thing up.
Yeah, so that's what it is. So this grill is more permanent, whereas the rolling grill here, that rolls up. There is a rolling grill, automated rolling grill that rolls up here. So this is more permanent. We didn't want to, there's no necessity for us to open or close because the view is essentially outside to the valley. So we still have a secure house. So that's an internal, so we had to cut the laterite rock. Basically, our whole site was initially the laterite rock was still there, almost till the living room. We decided to trim the laterite strata till that much, and then we cladded similar laterite stones on the side so that the whole courtyard goes well. And this is our central courtyard, and we have again a grill on the ceiling with the mosquito proof sash. So there is a mesh here, so it prevents all the mosquitoes so that I can keep the windows open throughout. Interestingly, of course, I don't have a photo of that, but there's very interesting shadows casted on this wall. So there's very interesting light and shadow effect on this wall. And as the seasons move, in fact, all these plants have grown now. So it's interestingly, in some seasons, the light comes on this, and this has red flowers. Whereas the plants here, which is now grown, has got all white flowers. So the sun, because of the sun's movement, in some months we have only white flowers here. And then in the next season, we have only red flowers at the back. So there is some dynamic element of change, even within the house as we perceive these internal courtyards.
And the shadows must look like a piano on the wall.
Yeah, it's quite, especially in the afternoon when I come down for a lunch break, it's very interesting to see each thing. So the same laterite strata, which was outside, is also, we decided to retain them inside one of the toilets because we thought that was a nice finish. And the wet area is anyway only till here, and the remaining is a dry area. So we just inserted sleek wash basin. But the main also, it would have, we kind of decided we'll give a stainless steel standing plumbing on that so that it looks like just a wash basin there instead of giving a drainage pipe into this and spoiling it. So the funny part is, as we were implementing it, I had put a supervisor and asked them to trim this neatly. And I had continuously told them, do not plaster this wall. Still, on that one afternoon, I came back and saw this whole wall was plastered. So it's very difficult to communicate to masons also that you actually want this rough finish and the rough texture. So then we had to peel that off again before it dried. But a lot of them cannot perceive that something like that is acceptable or possible.
Is that why the color is slightly different?
No. That was washed off immediately. It's just that during the lunch break, the mason had started plastering it. So it is still just a natural laterite wall. This is a natural laterite wall. I don't know how much time we have. More?
You can continue. Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, we have sufficient time. No, right?
Yeah. How much more time? Just to kind of...
About 15 minutes.
Okay, sure. So that's just the outside. Again, consciously keeping it low cost and trying to reach everything within our budget. Paving it with laterite stone, putting a small temple tree there. And in fact, if you notice this stone bench, in fact, that was one of the stones that we got to lay into our bathroom, which was wasted because of the size wasn't matching. So we decided to put that as a seating stone bench. In fact, a lot of clients who come visit me, they say, we want a bench like that, being unaware that it was actually a waste piece of one of the bathroom slabs. So this. So again, house for a friend of mine who's a photographer. So again, they wanted to build on top of their father's house, but it wanted to reflect the young couple's requirement and the taste of living. So again, we use that same lightweight panel. It's almost a square-shaped house. So you can see that there is a deviation here. The column is not actually sitting here. A lot of people might think that's an error, but that's consciously kept because this pillar had to be on one of the walls of the lower house. That's why you get that offset. So we thought we'll keep one corner like a courtyard there, and remaining keep a flexible space that is usable. So so that's a courtyard that I've taken the photograph from. So the ventilation, it basically goes out through that, and consciously very few of I mean most of the houses I do, we don't really encourage air conditioning. And that's why we are forced to kind of keep a lot of light and ventilation, and so that it becomes very comfortable for the clients. So that's a space. The whole space is, if you see, that's a whole house. But they wanted some privacy because there is a bedroom behind this. There is his photography, what he works on, the editing, and some studio-like space there. So whenever they're just two of them, they can just open everything. But if they have some other guests to entertain, they can keep some of these areas closed. So it's a totally flexible space. That's again an open kitchen. So that's a bathroom. So the only thing that we introduced was a very small slot there. That's made all the difference, actually. So that is the house. The other view that you saw was, that's a bedroom space. So when they're alone, it's all about what is the feel for the space, so you can put the same thing in several different rooms or keep it flexible like this. So you can see that it's all the doors are stacked here, and the whole house is open when there are only two of them, or when they have only people from their family coming. They can keep everything open, yet they have some privacy whenever they want. So that's actually a TV rack. So we have basically a swivel for the TV there, so it can rotate towards the bedroom if they want to lie down on the bed and watch, or it can swivel the other way around if they want to sit on this fixed seating and watch, or from the kitchen for that matter. So that's why you kind of see an island of a TV console there. That's again an open kitchen. I'm not sure if my screen is big enough and clear enough for you to view.
Absolutely.
Okay. So that's what it is when you're opening the space. Okay, so the next project again is a very interesting one. In fact, they had almost finalized on a lot more different type of plan, but it was far more regular. But then, this is in one of the very densely built areas in Mangalore. So,
Niren,
yes.
if I can interrupt here, there's a question from Sangeeta Rajni,
Right,
who's talking about the lightweight roofing. What is it that you showed a little while ago? Yeah, what is that called?
It's a cement sandwich panel, which is a 50 mm panel, which is available. It's called a V panel in the market.
Okay.
So it's a 50 thick cement sandwich panel. Basically, there are two cement sheets, which is about 4 or 5 thick. And in between is a aerated concrete with the thermocol fillings. So that's what makes it very lightweight.
All right. It's called V panel, right?
Yes.
All right.
Is it the same panel that we use in wall paneling and roof? The same.
Yeah, but there are different types of panels. There are some which does not have a thermocol balls. So basically, we need to check what is the weight that we need and the handling of the. It is more or less the same, but some of the companies don't use some of the thermocol balls or the aerated concrete in it. So it's finally the workability of the panels. Is it easy to take it up and lift it up for the roof for the laborers, and how practical it is, and what is the weight and what is the design that we need to uh, basically it's a structural element, so we need to consciously see what is the weight of the roof that we need when we're building on a pre-existing house for which we don't have the structural detail of. So that's again so like I said, that's it's a very so the typical house in India or most of the dense areas, whenever you basically when you open the windows and your neighbor also opens the windows, you basically look into each other, right? So your neighboring house is here, and you open the window, you basically look into the your neighbor's house. That's why most of us end up with the windows closed. So none of the side windows are open because there's no privacy. So when we were consciously trying to design a house in such a very densely built area, uh, I was thinking, what is the right solution for this? So we decided we'll put this open to sky courtyard like a long slit and make the entire house face inwards. But it's a very long courtyard. Um, I don't think I have an entry. Okay, that's the one. So this is from the entrance door. So you have one block on this side, you have another block on this side, and all the rooms mainly looks into this. Of course, we have given a window on the other side, but it's just like a lowered ventilator rather than looking outside, because anyway you don't see anything outside on the other side. So it is all kind of inward looking. We wanted to use a red oxide kind of a finish. Uh, so used color oxide tiles, and we custom did these kind of a pattern flooring patterns on some of the tiles so that we can create these kind of a thing. So the best part is about such fixed furniture. So the client's mother says she really loved that because that cement, it keeps it cool, and she always sleeps, takes her nap in the afternoon on this. In fact, they've removed the cushioning also here because it's far more cooler to directly sit on the cement in Mangalore. They really thank me for providing such built-in furnitures compared to other very large cushioned sofas where in fact, even I don't, I can hardly last for more than 5 minutes in a cushioned sofa in Mangalore because it gets so stuffy and sticky. Unless you have air conditioning, cushioned sofas are not meant for our climates. I mean, it might be different in Bangalore, which is far cooler, but in a humid weather like Mangalore, even furniture matters a lot. So the design of the house is also depends on what type of furnishings you do and how the people use them. So I think I'll quickly show one last project before we wind up. This is one of the very early projects that I did for a friend of mine, Dr. N. Mudbidri. So he had his ancestral house in the same footprint, but he wanted to reuse all the wood and but do it to a more modern kind of the rooms being much bigger than what it was in the old house. So we had to because some of the walls were not very strong. Some of the we had to dismantle some of the walls and rebuild with nice exposed laterite finish. Um, so that's the entrance using clay tiles. That's a shoe rack with the seat and the leg washing. So there's a small bowl with a granite tray where you take the water and wash your feet before you come in. That's how it is traditionally done after a long dusty walk outside. Um, so that's a bedroom. So we gave full height doors to step out into the courtyard. It wasn't really windows. So that's a high wall. So we could keep it like a door because there was enough privacy because of the high wall there. So this is a living room. We reused most of the rafters from the old house, and the reapers that was used as a backrest for all this furnishing of the living sofa. And we put a standing eucalyptus log there, which supported the whole roof. In fact, there was a wall here before. So we knocked off that wall and just put a standing log, which is we just left the knots also as it is because it was giving a interesting effect to the place. This was an attic again. This had a wall here, so we removed the wall and put two pillars to support this roofing wall plate. In fact, this was a steel beam that we used because it was spanning far more than the earlier wooden beams. And then we just introduced some of these windows and some dormer windows in place and made it like a guest room. Oh, sorry. So in Karkala and Mudbidri, these stones are available at a very low price. So we directly went to the quarry and got these stones. Basically, they just cut them. I was shocked to know what is the price of this at that time. So at the quarry, the stones hardly costed, I think, all of them put together, I think hardly costed not more than, I think not more than 1,500, 2,000 rupees for about 10 pillars. But the cost was in actually transporting it and loading it, unloading it, erecting it. But I couldn't believe, and it was one of the first few projects that I did. I couldn't believe that actually stone costs so little at the quarry. That's the So these are the joists that was of the old house. So we had to give some steel members. Basically, it's an I-beam, and this member went into the I-beam. So the earlier rooms would be just this big. The old rooms were just that big. So we connected 2-3 ceilings more and provided steel there. So we could achieve a bigger rooms as per their requirement. Yeah, I think that's about it on the. So we do all type of work. So this was a very interesting project. Again, a very early project, project in my career. So the client came and told me that he wants a house and he doesn't want me to use any cement or steel in his building. And it had to be very, very low cost. And this site was about 4 or 5 feet above the road level, and the road level was slightly lower there. So we basically cut all the mud, the earth from there, and we made the mud blocks at the site. And I was seeing how to basically span the whole thing uh, without using cement and steel. So we made a full dome, which was 32 feet a dome, a circular dome, which was spanning the whole house. Which is, I realized much later that it is probably one of the largest, the stabilized mud block dome, probably in the whole country or in the whole world, using stabilized mud blocks. Of course, there are larger domes using other materials, but more recently, using stabilized mud blocks, nobody had tried such a large dome at that point of time. Maybe there are newer ones which is larger than this.
It does look pretty large.
Yeah, and it's amazing effect when they were building it, and the skylight on top. Of course, it's different that time. So, so the challenge was how to totally achieve without steel and concrete. So the thrust, when we put a dome there, what happens is this tends to go down. The whole dome basically pushes outside. So this it pushes this wall outside. So traditionally, either they had buttresses which was supporting them, or the wall itself was at least 1 meter or a 3 feet thick wall, which would have been completely waste if we did that today. So I had to convince my client that it's fine to use just a ring beam with steel, so which is not really abuse of, it still is sustainable because you would end up building a 3 feet wall, which I feel it is justified to use a steel ring beam so that we don't have to build a very, very thick wall. So then he got convinced. So we put a ring beam on the 9-inch wall, and then we could put the dome on that. Which was safe. So this whole 950 odd square feet, we consciously kept it circular because the amount of material used for the perimeter, that is the largest area, the maximum amount of area is coming within a circle compared to any other shape of a square or a rectangle. The circle needs the least perimeter to enclose a certain area. So basically the perimeter means nothing but the entire quantity needed for the foundation, the quantity needed for the walls, everything is minimal for the same amount of area that you would need for some other shape. So we consciously did that, and we gave a basically, when you're doing a dome, again, there is no centering. You go on placing the bricks directly. So what you need is basically a guide of your radius of the sphere. So the guide had to be a little lower than the floor level. So we had to dig in deep so that this can swivel all around, and also swivel that way vertically and horizontally, so to keep it in place. And in fact, how it works is you go on building this, and once the circle is complete, it's like you having a well. So once a well, all the bricks are laid. It doesn't allow it to, and it's laid in an angle like that. Basically, what happens is it doesn't let it fall inwards because each brick holds on to each other. As long as the brick is not crushing, it holds on to each other. So we just had to go on doing circles in a reducing concentric circles. Uh, so uh, basically it wasn't allowing it to fall inwards as long as the bricks is not crushing, and this wall is not going outwards because of the thrust. As long as those two elements are structural elements are designed, it works. Again, was a very interesting project. Again, Dr. Yoganand from Rinmai helped us out in this. So thanks to him, without his detailing, we just couldn't have achieved even this project. I think that's about it. We can take other
Yeah,
questions
this
if there is any.
actually reminds me of the Pantheon in in Italy.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
I think that principle is, of course, it looks
Yeah, it's the
similar.
same principle. Yeah, very true.
All right.
But that's the one which was built with buttresses, and this one was slimmer.
Yeah, of the walls. And again, a stabilized mud block there. I don't know what exact material they use for the dome. But as long as it's a very hard material which doesn't crush, I think anything should work.
It's a keystone concept.
Yeah, it's more of there is no single keystone here because
Yeah.
it's an entire circle. Keystones will come in an arch, and that's one keystone. If you remove that, the whole thing collapses. Of course, even here, if there is some break in this, all these might fall. So it's basically the entire, all the bricks should be rigid enough. And
Every
it should be,
stone is a keystone.
yes. Yeah. Should I stop sharing screen or?
No, that's fine. That's fine. I mean, because there are questions coming in.
Right.
So a few comments and a few questions. All
Sure.
right. So Sangeeta Rajni is saying, lovely work, rustic, earthy, and she's a big fan of Baba's work as well.
Right.
Right. Um, some more comments from Nitish Kumar, who's saying, fantastic work. Fantastic work. Rajni is, Sangeeta is also commending you for your work. All
Thank
right.
you.
Right. So Chaitanya Deshpande has some questions. To what extent do civil engineers work on your projects?
Yeah, we get all the structural details from them. There's a lot more time needs to be spent on detailing out. Uh, so the entire structural work is done by the civil engineering consultants, the structural consultants. And in-house, we do have quantity surveyors and site supervisors and people who do a lot of working drawings and the estimates for the project. So there is a substantial amount of involvement of civil engineers in all our projects.
All right, all right. And there's another question from Chaitanya who says that I've heard that allowing trees pass through a building, um, pass through a building makes the foundation weak due to the roots. How did you provide that protection to your farmhouse, to the farmhouse that you designed?
Yeah, so there are two things. One, yes, so there are, traditionally it's a load bearing wall, in the sense the whole wall takes a load, whereas most of the modern buildings are a structural frame and the walls are just a infill, which means that the foundations are limited to just below the pillars. So so if you see here, I'll just pull this up. So the foundations are limited to only about this much, and the next foundation will be somewhere there. The trees are somewhere that side. So even if the roots are there, and the plinth beams comes about that there. So even if the roots are going under the plinth beam, compared to a traditional architecture where this whole thing would be a wall, and if these tree roots are growing, it will basically tend to push the wall up. That's when it kind of starts failing and the cracks appear. Whereas in a frame structure, that's the biggest advantage of modern technology, that uh, the beam is off the ground and the roots are below that. And there is substantial gap between the plinth beam and the roots. That is fine. That's one thing. And secondly, there are also sheets that is available today where you put a root retardant membrane. Basically, the roots come till there and it kind of gets retarded with the membrane itself has properties where the roots don't go beyond this, or it just stops short of touching the membrane.
All right, brilliant. I think very, very innovative solution. I mean, something that we're not used to, not familiar with, very, very interesting. And this is something I've seen with all your projects. Now, for example, this how often do clients come with these requirements? So generally we see now all of us are more exposed to the regular architecture which you see all around. So How often do you get projects like this?
In fact, right now in my career, all the clients that I've got come to me because they want exactly this, and they say, "We've researched hundreds of architects, and you're the one that we need." And whenever I ask them, "So what do you have in mind?" We have we have as long as Niren Jain's touch is there, we are fine with anything. So that's
So I
that's what
guess
they
the
come
brief
with.
is just to design like it was your own, right?
Yeah. So initially, of course, it wasn't easy. People had their own type of requirement in terms of styling. But once you've achieved some of the projects and you have something to show, and then it is all. And right now in my career, I think everybody wants something. I mean, one of these type of houses and architecture. So that
Do
way,
you
I'm quite comfortable now in dealing with most clients.
do you get the question of maintenance? Because that's probably what most of us architects have to battle, saying, if I use a manufactured product, the maintenance might be way lower. What is your comment on that?
No, in fact, the maintenance is higher on a manufactured product compared to natural. It's how you design. In fact, a leakage, if you just look at the example of a compound wall, in a compound wall in Mangalore, it all gets algae, and most of our urban fabric is all covered with algal growth, and it's not very aesthetically pleasing. Actually, what is needed is just a coping which comes out by about 3 inches from the wall. If you see here, it just is a small coping which comes out by just about 3 inches and give a drip mold there so that the water just drips off the compound wall. Uh, so there is no algal growth coming at all on the whole compound wall. These are the small details that is needed. In fact, even if you put what they usually do now, they put the ACP aluminum composite panels on large buildings, which is totally waterproof. But if you see the ACP cladding on buildings in Mangalore, the whole thing is faded and it's all got algal growth because there is no
Yeah,
projections at the
greenish.
top. The most manufactured, the best material available doesn't perform for our climate. So it's a matter of design. So I kind of say whenever somebody says we have a leakage in house and the contractor has not done it properly, I actually blame the designers that they've not designed it properly. So I hardly do any flat roofs unless there is a need for expansion, like my own house. I've kept a flat roof because I wanted the possibility of building a floor above. But uh, most of my project has a uh, simple roof uh, in any form. Basically, we need to drain out the roof well, the rainwater well. So a lot of them, it's a simple detail like providing a water tank at this position will not work in Mangalore because the water that comes from here, it basically gets accumulated just behind the water tank, and this is always a problematic joint. So this is actually not the problem of the contractor, because how much ever you do a good job of waterproofing and other things, over the years, over 5-10 years, you'll find a problem there. So uh, so the solution for that is actually not putting the water tank at that position. You need to put it at the ridge here. You need to put the water tank at the ridge at this place, so that there is no water above this, so that there is no water coming above this. It's whatever is there, it just flows downwards here. There is nothing to block this and make it seep. And if you see most of the buildings, or even if it's an old building, they've added something to it, and then all the seepage starts. So and it need not be in this traditional shape, it can be in any shape. As long as you've cleanly drained the water out, there is no problem. Of course, all these problems might not be there in Bangalore because it receives far lesser rains. So in fact, I've got other clients telling that the architects in Bangalore, if they design here, it's a disaster because they just don't understand the real climate of Mangalore. So that's where, again, we go back to regional modernism. How do we learn from what has been built in the past, why those elements have evolved? Have we understood them well? And are we using it to the right context in a modern way? So that's what, again, I would say is regional modernism.
There was a
Great. Go ahead, Lian.
Yeah, there was a question about where you studied and a little bit about your education. Maybe somebody's looking at an education choice.
Yeah, I studied in the Manipal Institute of Technology for my undergraduate. And then I did my master's more recently on environmental conservation from the University of Wisconsin in Madison, US. Uh, so, but so a lot of learnings is from the masons and the skilled people, and I think actually the learnings are from observing. We just need to observe around us in terms of what's happening. Just look around what is happening, what type of structure is performing, or in fact, you should look at failures. Why is it failing? I think that's what you learn the most. If something has gone bad, you really understand why it has gone bad. That's I think for students, I would say the failures or studying the failures is far, far, far more important than studying the success, because that's where you learn. If you've never seen failures, then you'll never learn. So you need to see a failed building, you need to see a failed surface, you need to see a failed space, and understand what is wrong here. I think it's easier to kind of learn through that process.
Yes, definitely.
Cool. I have a question regarding this project which you're currently showing, the rubber estate, the bungalow on the rubber estate, right?
Yeah.
How big was this project in terms of square foot area or so?
So there was only 2 bedrooms, the one in the basement and one in the first floor. So the total spread is not more than, I would say, it's done quite a few years back. It's, I think, not more than 1,800 square feet. It's not more than that. It's a
All right.
very, it's a very narrow. If you look at the span, so this, again, there is a limitation in terms of if you look at this span from here to the other side of the this thing, it's only 12 feet, because there is a limitation for the vault and the construction. Of course, it was long, but in terms of the span, it was 12 feet. So all the rooms were just a 12-feet grid. It's just that because we could open out quite a bit and then step out, that's why it is looking more spacious. In fact, even people coming to my house, they can't believe that it is just a 1,800 square foot house, because we've opened out on all sides, and the feel for the space is far bigger than what it is actually the floor space. If I just show you, can't. Yeah. So because it's flowing onto the tree courtyard and there's a dining courtyard on the other side, it makes it feel huge. But actually, if you look at the usable area, it's not very big. It would be like any other home. It's just how we've treated what kind of walls and how we need to open up. Again, if this was a western wall, there is no way this will work, because the entire sunlight will come in and the house will become unbearable. So you need to be very conscious in terms of where you can give a glass facade, which we often see architects and clients wanting a huge glass, putting it on the western side and just baking like a oven, or you keeping your car in a sun and how hot it gets. That's exactly the effect because of the glass house effect inside. So you need to be very conscious which face of the building you need to keep large openings. In fact, my floor to ceiling height is 12 feet. Just that also is given a lot of feeling for a bigger space, even though the floor, the square feet is much smaller.
Fantastic. This is amazing because to me it appeared as if the space was absolutely huge.
Yeah. So
That's
that
amazing.
so a few small things you change, it's going to change the whole the experience of the space.
All right, and coming down to this now, these projects, some of them are not within the city. On the rubber plantation, it's far away or far away from the city. So how? So Chaitanya is asking, how is the supervision done? Is it challenging because or specifically this because you're using materials from locally sourced materials? Does it get challenging? Does your personal interest in the project go a lot more, your interest and your effort, does that increase?
Yeah, definitely. There's far more involvement that is needed to do these kind of projects. So, in terms of site visits, in terms of and a lot of projects. In fact, initially, to tell you the truth, I just couldn't get them executed the way I wanted from contractors. So I said, this is going to be disastrous. This is none of the dreams will come true. So I said, I'm going to build it myself for the clients, at least for the first few projects, so that I wanted to demonstrate that it's possible, and I'm going to show that things can happen. So a few projects in the beginning, I said, let's do it so that I want full control in terms of how it's going to come up. So yes, it is challenging, and there had to be a huge site involvement and coordination and masons. And as you all know, everybody refuses to do even a smallest change than the regular norms. That is quite challenging to convince the clients. But now, uh, reaching this career, after this career, I don't see that as a big problem, because people respect you for what you've done, and they just follow you to the smallest detail and to the smallest inch. So in the beginning, yes, it is challenging, but as long as you're clear that it is working, and of course, nobody comes clean right in the beginning. There are small mistakes, and we need to learn from our mistakes and uh, refine it. And even today, I'm learning. In fact, guess what? The biggest teachers are the clients themselves to me, because the clients are also fixed on a particular detail, and they've researched uh, for quite a few years. In fact, a lot of them have researched them for ever since they dreamt of a house, that they want that particular detail. And they've gone so detailed understanding and seeing in different places, we won't be ever aware of so much of intricacies in a particular aspect. So right now in my career, I learn from my clients themselves, because there is some detail or the other that they have very, very consciously wanted to do. Yes, we are learning right through the process.
Since there are aspirants, watching this, how did you take your career forward? I mean, from college to your masters, you worked in between, and how you chose the places that you worked at, and what was your criteria when you uh, picked your jobs?
Oh, okay. That's probably, I might not be the right person to guide on that, because my career and interests were very varied. Uh, but anyway, I'll go for it. So as I finished architecture, so I interned with Gayatri and Namit Associates. Not interned, I worked, but only for a very short period of 6 to 7 months. Um and that's the only place I worked, and that was just for 6 to 7 months. Uh, After that, I was very keen on wildlife conservation, like you mentioned earlier. So I wanted to be in the forest, and I said, before I do full-fledged go for the career, which is usually quite hectic, and you won't be able to do what you really want to do. So I said, after I graduate, I'm going to take off for how many ever years and do what in the sense, what I also want to do. is just enjoy the forest and the nature in the Western Ghats. So I signed up with Dr. Ullas Karant, who was a tiger ecologist. So I wanted to explore the hills of Kudremukh, which I've been basically adoring since my childhood, because my grandmother's house is on the foothills. So that gave me. So I think after I graduated, after 7 months, then I directly signed up. In fact, okay, my father was building the our house in Puttur, so that was my first experience directly hands-on on right from the marking to the finish of the project. I think that's where I learned the most, because one full project, if anybody, in fact, if there is an architectural aspirant, what he should do is he should basically even before enrolling to architecture, maybe he should do one site supervision work right from scratch to end. Then he should decide whether that's a project for him, and that's when he would have all learned the entire basics. And plus two is 12th is more than enough for you to be a site supervisor in terms of your understanding. I'm sure you'll find in one of your relatives that if you can do that and then take up architecture, there is nothing like it. Let me tell you, it's
So the
worth that
next
one
time,
year. But I
so
did
the
that
next,
after I graduated from architecture. Yeah, tell me, go ahead.
no, so the next time someone asks me for an internship in between their studies, I think I'll do that.
Yeah, they should. They should. I think there is nothing else that you can learn more from actually being inside continuously till the project is start to end. So after that, for about 4 or 5 years, I was just in the forests and being a wildlife conservation activist. And only from 2005 onwards, I decided I'll do both wildlife conservation and also practice. Uh, so that's how it's been.
So it was a private practice from then onwards?
Yes.
All right, very, very interesting. How about your involvement with the Mangalore Smart City project? What is that like?
So um so I was basically I myself wanted to cycle for commute, not really for leisure or exercise. So I was seeing how do I get from my place to another place for work or to pick up something or for shopping. It was the Mangalore roads are very wide and they're quite smooth, and they're very speeding traffic, even though there is a regulation of a speed limit. As you all know, nobody follows them. So how do you really safely cycle in the city? So I started looking at trying to take my own routes from my inner route. So Mangalore has numerous small 6 feet wide small bylanes, which is called onis in Mangalore, where even the four-wheelers and a lot of times even the two-wheelers cannot go. These are spaces where between the two properties as a right of way, uh, basically these are what you call them as remnants. Once the property is subdivided or given to somebody, you need a right of access. And since cars were not really the popular mode of transport, 6 feet is what most people needed. They didn't need anything more than that as a right of way. And because it's a very undulating terrain, it's not even easy to do roads in all the places. So we still, so I started going into such bylanes whenever I wanted to commute across the city. So as in, so I started exploring more and more. I wasn't sure how many of these small bylanes or ronis were left in Mangalore. Then I realized there was still substantial, but it wasn't good enough to know whether it networked the whole city. Then I started putting my staff and interns also to do the mapping of these bylanes. So it was unbelievable that there were still so many Onis left in Mangalore, which could be easily connected. Right now, these are all broken segments. Either it comes and stops near a stream, or it's a dead end, or it needs some crossover. It needs a small bridge. bridge or some crossing like that. So, and when I was speaking to parents, they were telling, let my kids ride the cycle on the narrow lanes, but the wide roads are definitely a no-go areas. So I was thinking whether we can really network the whole city using such ONIs, which is non-vehicular ONIs, and a combination of a small narrow lanes and the residential streets, which is quite winding and where the traffic is very calm. So that's, I think, for somebody to safely cycle, as long as the motor vehicles are at a safe speed, that is a very slow speed, I think it's fine to cycle. So I was seeing whether we can network the entire city using such lanes. At the same time, the India Cycles for Change challenge came up because of the pandemic. They wanted to transform all cities, which was more than 5 lakhs, to a bicycle friendly city. So the smart city had already kind of wanting to try this, what I'd recommended as a cycling ONIs. Then it became a full-fledged project, and right now we've basically done a 12-kilometer long stretch, identified a pilot project from connecting more than 15 educational institutions in the heart of Mangalore, which is almost 30% of the educational institution in the main city area, and a lot of other public buildings, the hospitals, and things like that. So even the commissioner, our MLA, Mr. Vedavyas Kamath, everybody is, their dream is now that once the schools reopen, we want the school children to ride on bicycles. So we need to ensure that we give them a safe corridor through these ONIs and narrow residential streets. Of course, with the help of the police commissioner, we're hoping that this dream will be made successful once the school reopens, whenever that is. So that's where we are on the cycling project. So in terms of, I think there's a huge, I realized the whole ONIs are a maze. It's a maze which newcomers or people residing in some other areas would be finding it very difficult to know the orientation. Of course, we want to mark colored lines for each direction of the routes. Like a metro line, like the north-south will have a green line along the pavement throughout. East-west line might have an orange line, and so on and so forth. But interesting, another artistic element that we want to introduce is at some of these crucial junctions in this maze of ONIs, we want to have probably a artistic sculptural element or some mural so that they know they've passed through this area before, or they can have landmarks. That's one part where a lot of artists might be interested to kind of get involved to improve the urban fabric of the city. The second thing is the infographics itself. That's a whole lot of other discipline. We are looking for people who can get involved and volunteer to do some of these nice infographics along the cycling routes.
If anyone wants to be a part of that, how do they become a part of that team?
Yeah, I think there is the bicycling clubs are already volunteering quite a bit in the campaigns, and they are involved quite a bit. So you can get in touch with me or one of the bicycle clubs, and especially in design, there's definitely huge scope in the sense to volunteer to try and make the whole experience very interesting. So if there is anybody interested, please get in touch either with me or to one of the bicycle clubs, that if there is some particular field that you're interested in. Or we are also doing a lot of questionnaire surveys in getting feedback in terms of how to make the Mangalore city as cycle friendly. So there's a lot of field work that is involved. So definitely there's a lot of scope for volunteering experience. They can email me at njarchitect@gmail.com. If anybody wants to volunteer, that's or you can just Google Niren Jain Architect. You'll get my blog. You'll find the address and the telephone number there.
Yeah, that I think there'll be a lot of interested people here,
Great.
and there's a lot of talent anyway.
Yes, that'll be great if people are involving.
All right, I'll just post your email address in the chat so that people could
Sure.
get in touch with you. Hold on. njarchitect@gmail.com, right?
That's right.
Sure. All right. All right. Cool. I think we've come down pretty much to all the questions that have been asked on the platform. Leanne, any concluding questions you have?
I mean, about the projects, I was wondering only about the maintenance part, because that's what the client always says about natural buildings, eco-friendly buildings. It's nice in concept, but when it comes to actually running the place, it's a bit of a challenge. But like you said, I think the little designs that are added solve that. But in our climate, in this heat, do you think it's actually possible to not have an air conditioner at all?
I don't have neither in my office nor at home. It's. I mean, air conditioning is what? How many years old? How can you think that? Is it possible to live without air conditioning? So that's what it is. We are so used to the new norm that we just forgotten that it is. But it's a lot to do with the clothing, what kind of clothing you're wearing, what kind of material finishes. Again, furnishing. You have a cushioned sofa. Obviously, you can't sit for more than 5 minutes in it without air conditioning. Even I cannot sit. So that's not the right furnishing for a non-air conditioned spaces. So the same thing with the footwear. You wear a shoes. It's impossible to live in Mangalore with the shoes. You have to wear chappals. I always wear chappals. So these are small things that you need to do. And I'm very comfortable. In fact, I'm uncomfortable in an air-conditioned environment, including in my own car.
No, like you said, like the slippers, I think cross ventilation is
No,
something.
that's what it is. You start living in a non-air conditioned environment, you'll basically adapt yourself to kind of with all type of furnishing and the clothing and ventilation. Sadly, in spite of the pandemic, we hardly see any campaigns for open the windows. I mean, I want to tell the authorities that they should have a campaign for open the windows campaign. You kind of there are so many offices with such beautiful windows. It's all very thickly curtained, blinded, and put air conditioning and lights. It's unbelievable. I mean,
No,
it's
that's
totally unbelievable.
yeah, no, that's like the typical, beautiful garden with a board that says "Don't step on the lawn."
Yeah. No, but it's sad. It's sad for the climate. It's sad for the society. It's sad for the people that we are not really understanding this. We just want to put air conditioning. We just want to close all the windows with a thick curtain, and we want to wear a tie and a shoes and sit in a sofa.
Yeah.
So that's sad.
So I guess before we start designing houses, we have to change our lifestyle, then it all falls into place.
It could be the other way around also. You consciously design something that is very airy and ventilated. You'll adopt yourself to live in
Yeah.
it.
Fantastic. There's another question since you brought up the pandemic. I missed a question from Chaitanya who's asking, now in this pandemic, people are refraining from larger expenditures. All right. So as an architect, do you see the new work coming in? Do you see that reducing, or do you see it increasing, or how does that affect the career of an architect?
Frankly, post-pandemic, I think has been a big rush for me. We've never got so many projects earlier. So the priorities of people have changed completely. People who had plans of business expansion is prioritizing building a house, a nice, safe place to stay in. The work from home culture has made people improve their spaces in their own homes, whether it is renovation, whether it is doing something better. Uh, because the reverse migration from metros to tier 2, tier 3 cities, there's everybody wants to come back home, come back to their hometown. They already have a lot of land, or they've picked up some land earlier. They want to do these projects. So for me, it's been extremely busy post pandemic. There's a lot of new projects that has come, and it's never like this before. So again, it's, I think it's sector wise. The individual homes, and also a lot of them have got are vary of the apartment and the society, because of the regulation of COVID. The whole apartment gets affected. Of course, it's kind of come down now, but at least initially they saw what could be the extremes, so they all preferred the individual houses. The other thing is, people are generally feeling that their money in the bank might not be very safe, so they might as well have a physical asset. So people are going for second homes and things like that, or people have been postponing it and keeping it in their, saving it in their banks. They just want to get done with it. So there's a
People
huge
have
rush for
time.
me, at least.
Now people have time to think about their dreams, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I've heard that directly from clients, that we got this whole time to really think about our house, what type of architecture we wanted, and that's when we thought about you.
Yes. Dion?
Yeah, so super fantastic session. Chaitanya Deshpande saying thank you, Niren Jain sir, for this amazing session. Really enjoyed this e-meet. All right,
Thank
I
you.
was looking forward to more. So, Architect Niren, it's been a fantastic session. I mean, it's amazing to see the kind of work that you do, and something that we've not seen in a long time. We've really understood what regional modernism means, at least the way you've defined it. And it's amazing to see that things are possible, and looks like even the budgets, as often that you use local furniture, like you showed the pillars, the stone pillars, the budget for that was so much lesser than actually constructing a regular pillar. So it seems like it's very, very interesting, and something that should get a lot more popular. you know
Yeah.
so thank you for the amazing insight, amazing projects, and we hope that a lot of people are inspired by you, and both clients as well as the future architects. All right, thank you so much for taking the time out to interact with all of us.
Thanks, Dion. Thanks, Leon and
Thank
Rohit.
you. Thanks
Yeah,
a lot.
that was a great session. Thanks.
All
Same.
right,
Yeah.
goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.